when we had our first monthly Sankirtan festival, it was very, very, very small. And we started with the goal of just few devotees, and then slowly we grew. So the beginning is always going to be very small, and we want to keep it small. So those are some of the principles. Let's take a look at that. The most important part for organizing a monthly Sankirtan festival, that we wanted to keep it fun and organized and welcome everybody. There is no bar on who to exclude. Everybody is included. And the goal, the first goal, as His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu was mentioning yesterday, is just to touch the pavement. So troop movement is the most important thing. And we just want devotees to come and just get the taste of going out as a team together. And that's the goal. And believe it or not, this picture was taken a long time ago. But each time we have any major festivals that we are organizing for the newcomers, we take this picture. And devotees love it. They want to come just for this picture. So when you are advertising for your monthly Sankirtan festival, you can probably advertise it as Touch the Pavement theme. And Prabhu talked about it a little bit also, that our prime directive is to leave everyone with a good impression. Whether they take it or not, if we leave a sour taste, they will never come back. Whether they take, even though they take books, but if you leave them with a good impression, they'll come back again and again. And anywhere they meet devotees, they have a positive impression by leaving them with a good impression whenever you meet. Always better service, always improve. So when we had our MSFs organized, we have 7 or 8 MSFs in a year, and one MSF is dedicated, called MSF of Steady Improvements. And this Steady Improvements was just to see what we did in our last MSF and what we can improve. So we used to have goals for improvement, so that we always have better service. If a system is broken, improve it next time, improve it next time, improve it next time. Then you come to a point where it becomes a well-oiled machine. But until that happens, we keep improving, and that's our motto, always better service. We start small and grow. It's very important that we don't overwhelm our team or our community with lofty, big goals, because the worst thing that we can do is set a goal that we cannot achieve. Instead, set a goal and start really, really small. Even though it may seem, oh, it's too simple, start with that, and then we can keep it consistent, and then we can grow from there. 80-20 rule. This is important because we want to keep doing what's working, that is the 80%, and 20% we want to explore something new. Let me give an example that we used to go out on book distribution to a select spots that we know it works. But there are certain things that we have never tried. We don't know if they would work or not. So it is totally unknown. So what we keep is, we keep 80% of our spots which are regular, which we know that we can have good results back. But 20% we just try to experiment. And when we experimented like this, new discoveries started coming. We never thought of doing Srimad Bhagavatam distribution in front of stores, but we just experimented one weekend. Sometime we wanted to explore, and we did that. And once we were going into DMV, some devotee was standing in the line, and then he said, oh, what is this DMV? And there was a table somebody set up there. We just wanted to explore what is this, and we tried, and now we have a permanent spot in the DMV. Walmart, the same thing. Everything, we just explored. We started a little bit of exploration time, and then if it works, we keep it. If it doesn't work, we keep moving on. So 20% we keep on experimenting, new spots, new areas, new techniques, and it's also nice to hear what's working for other temples. We heard so much from His Grace Brigupati Prabhu on how he distributes books at universities. We just learned from them. So we also wanted to experiment. So we wrote down all those lines and we took them and we experimented. So similarly, 20% if we can save. We can't do a lot of experimentation because we wanted to keep some steady growth also. So that 80% and 20% rule. Goals are potent. So why goals? People think that sometimes people say goals are too much, it becomes too much of anxiety. But unless there is goals, we don't feel like we are making progress. Yesterday, His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu mentioned that because some devotees said, each MSF we are having goals after goals after goals, we just wanted to break. Then we took a break, and one MSF, there was no goals whatsoever. And that was a MSF where everybody was really morose. And they came back and said, no, we want goals. So then we brought back the goals. And when we have goals, devotees actually try to see their potential grows each time because they are trying something new, because we have a goal. They're trying new, they're exploring ideas. Recently when there was COVID, we had a huge goal of Srimad Bhagavatam sets, and that's where the calling party concept came. And the calling party, I don't know if you participated, but it was really successful. And after that, we continued the calling party even after COVID was over. So these all inventions, discoveries came just because we had some goals and where we taxed our brain to see how we can achieve our goals. So it's important to have goals. Where attention goes, energy flows. When we put our attention in the goals for this MSF, when we set a goal, then all the energy flows in that direction and everybody is working towards those goals. And a lot of people each doing little bit. This concept is very important because if it falls as a burden only on a few devotees who are doing this, it becomes very difficult for them. So we have a Harinam in San Francisco every year for day after Thanksgiving, where our goal is to distribute at least 2,500 Bhagavad Gitas in one day at downtown. So that's our goal. So it feels daunting, like, oh, how can you do 2,500 Bhagavad Gitas? But entire community comes. It's a Harinam, day after Thanksgiving Harinam. It's really fun. We have lots of prasadam distribution. Homeless people come to get prasadam that day. We do a lot of prasadam distribution. And almost the entire community comes and each of them try to distribute Bhagavad Gitas. And everybody thinks they have just done maybe few Gitas only, but at the end of the day we see that we have distributed 2,500 Bhagavad Gitas. So each devotee just doing a few actually goes a long way. So that's why each doing a little bit is very, very important for any community. And not only that, everybody feels part of it. If only one person is doing, there's no fun in it. But if the entire community is involved, everybody feels encouraged and they wanted to do more as well. And there is something for everyone. Many people think that book distribution or monthly Sankirtan festival means only going out and distributing books. But at ISV, everybody is a Sankirtan devotee. So there are devotees who go out on the field, distribute books. There are devotees who are very shy to go outside, but they help in packing the books, making sure that all the books are packed in the bags, arranging for trolleys and everything. Some devotees just like to drive. They love to drive. So they are engaged in the driving seva. Some devotees cook. They cook excellent prasadam, but they are not so extrovert to go and distribute books or talk to people. They make prasadam for all the devotees who are going out on book distribution. And we have our pujaris who stay at the temple, and when some guests come home, so when guests come to the temple, they distribute a Bhagavad Gita to that person also. So if you see, the entire temple is engaged. And that's why this monthly Sankirtan festival is so potent, because everyone can be included. Kids, we pack prasadam, lollipops prasadam we pack. So the kids also help to pack prasadam. Of course, 20% is gone because the kids, yeah, she's demonstrating. This was not planned before, but so kids like to do that, so they come. And kids at the table, they like to have some fun with their friends. So kids also come. Of course, they have to be supervised with their parents. And they like to hand out flyers and temple cards. So there is an engagement for every single person, including dogs. We have a devotee. She's our festival organizer for the temple, Janmashtami festival. Everything she organized. Her name is Hansapriya. She has a dog. She had 2 dogs, but now she has only one. One dog's name was Yogi. So she had a sleeve for the dog. There is a sleeve that the dress sleeve that they put. And she used to bring her dog to the monthly Sankirtan festival, and the sleeve has books inside them. And when she would bring the dog, everybody said, "Oh, such a cute dog. Oh, what is this? Oh, this is a book on yoga meditation." And then she would distribute. So even animals and dogs, the pets, can also be engaged in the monthly Sankirtan festival. So everyone is included, and there is something for everyone in the community to be engaged. And keep the bar really, really, really low to start. When we started our first monthly Sankirtan festival, we did not have any goals for books. We just had a goal for number of devotees just to go out and then just have fun and come back. And as His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu said, that prasadam, I think we'll talk about that also, but keep the bar really, really low. No pressure. Just go out, have fun, and in the process, if you distribute some books, that's a plus. Otherwise, the goal is just to go, touch the pavement, and keep the bar really low. And since yesterday we have been talking, book distribution is fun and easy. Book distribution is? It's not convincing. Oh, yeah. Book distribution is fun and easy. That's our mantra. So there is a lot of services that everybody can be engaged in. The most difficult part is the organization. And if we have all of these different services assigned, so there is a service for Sankirtan leaders, there's some service for team leaders who will take the teams out. Yesterday was a very good example for organizing a monthly Sankirtan festival. If you saw, we had so many teams that went out. We needed team leaders. We needed book distributors, all of you. We needed kirtan leaders that you saw, where we did kirtan yesterday. We need drivers. I didn't have my car. Thank you to Anuttama Prabhu and Mataji for driving me to the spot. And we need book room manager. We have our devotee, Venudhari Gopal Prabhu, who manages the entire inventory. So I'm sure every temple needs one. So there's a service for that person. There's an accountant. I know Radhamohan Prabhu, I think you're the accountant here? Not really, okay. So Ananya is the accountant, yes. So when we distribute, we get the scores and we get the Lakshmi that has to be collected, and we give it to the accountant, and the accountant keeps all the scores, report it to BBT, deposit in the bank. So we need the accountant for all these activities. We need a communication lead. All the spots where we are going, where we are distributing, when are we getting prasadam, the most important thing, all of those have to be communicated. We need a communication lead, and the most important is prasadam team, because we need pizza. So prasadam team help us with making first-class prasadam for all the devotees who go out. So generally, the sample monthly Sankirtan festival is what we saw yesterday, if you have seen. This is very typical of a monthly Sankirtan festival, what we had. We have a full morning program. if possible. If not, at least japa circle, and then Bhagavatam class in the morning, then good breakfast, because we want devotees to have a lot of energy. So we have good breakfast. And then we have a Sankirtan training, like Prabhu was doing yesterday, how to sell Bhagavad Gita on its own merit, and the principles that we learned on Friday, if we can have a quick seminar training, because we assume that all the devotees who are coming, they already know, but sometimes we have a lot of new devotees joining. If you have a training that removes that hesitation from those devotees that, oh, I can't go because I don't know how to. But if you have a training organized, then they can come and they can learn, and then they will be inspired to go. And the outing, like we all went yesterday, Sankirtan outing, we have few spots planned, we go there, we distribute books. And of course, lunch, and this nectar stories or the reflections that we had in the beginning today morning. It's very important to take reflections, because when we take reflections, a lot of questions also come. And when question comes, that is an opportunity for us to learn and grow. So, and it's so sweet to hear those reflections, their realizations of distributing books. So it's really nice to have those. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the inspiring morning program, good japa, nice Bhagavatam class as well. Yeah, I mean, fun training session. I'm not going through in detail because you have already seen all of these. I don't want to repeat so much. Oh, collect Sankirtan spots. As we discussed during the Bhagavatam training, and also as Prabhu was mentioning, collecting the spots is very important. If someone can scout the area before, it will help and save a lot of trouble. We think that sometimes foot traffic, wherever there is a lot of foot traffic, is the best spot, but not necessarily, because downtowns sometimes are very harsh, because people are just running in the downtowns. So if we can find some places, especially for newcomers, even if it is not a busy, it's not a busy street, but it's something where there is some traffic and people are not so much in a rush, then they will stop and talk. So if you're planning for a Sankirtan outing, if you're trying to pick a spot and a lot of new people are joining, or even if existing devotees are joining, choose the spot which we think is not too hard for everybody. Choose a spot where we think that people are a little bit in the mode of goodness, not so much in the mode of passion where they cannot stop at all. So try to pick those spots. And organize your books. Toronto book room, I heard from His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, is worshipable. Devotees don't even take shoes there, they take out the shoes, and so we organize books in a nice way, because books are deities. If we don't organize, then the books gets scattered here, there, and everywhere, and it feels so disrespectful, because we are going out to give the deities in the form of books, and if we don't take care of our own books, then it feels we are not preaching what we are practicing. And it's good to assign spots ahead of time. So what we usually do is we ask for a sign-up sheet. We collect the spots the day before or a couple of days before. You can send out the spots, and you say maximum how much ever devotees, like 4 or 5 devotees per spot, because if it is too much of a crowd in one place, it becomes overwhelming, not just for the devotees, but even for the people who are walking by. They feel that we are overtaking their place. The store owners they object us. There are so many things. So instead, if you can just have 4 or 5 devotees in a spot, and if you pre-assign them and you send them ahead of time, let's say you have 5 spots, make 5 leaders, and assign 5 devotees to each spot, and the devotees can contact that leader for directions or for any guidance, for books and everything like that. Yeah, we just talked about easy spots for beginners. So if there is a spot where you know that a lot of nice people come, so take those spots for the beginners. It's very nice for them because they want to be encouraged. If it's a tough spot, then they get discouraged the first time. So just make sure that we have easy spots in the beginning. And pair up with new and existing experienced devotees. New devotees, the first time when they go out, they necessarily may not want to distribute books, but they just want to watch. So if we pair them up with an experienced devotee, they get an experience and they get encouraged to try. And the experienced devotee can also give some training on the spot if they need, or some tips, and they can encourage them to try if they like to. But there is no push for them to perform in the first time. They can just stay there and watch. This gives them encouragement, and next time when they come, they want to try as well. Make a group sankalpa. I don't know if we are doing this anymore, but we all do, we just do this. And then, and Krishna on 3, 1, 2, 3, Krishna or Chaitanya or whatever goal it is. It feels so nice because we all come together as a team and then we do this. And at IS, we still do that sometimes. We just do this group sankalpa. It's nice to start with a prayer before we go and state our intentions to Krishna and ask for blessings from Krishna to help us fulfill those. We're all going out to please Krishna somehow or other, but if we state our intention, it makes it easier for us too. Keep the initial MSF short and sweet. I want to share, yesterday we went for the store distribution. I was maybe over enthusiastic, and we distributed books for a couple of hours, and I didn't realize that devotees were tired because they've been attending seminar for the last few days. I should have just stopped at certain point, but I think I went 1 hour over, but then later realized, oh no, what do I do? Because of the enthusiasm, sometimes we get carried away. But it's better to keep it short. When the devotees are still in high energy, and they go back home with energy rather than, oh, I'm so exhausted, I don't want to go next time anymore, Instead of that, just keep it short, which is my mistake yesterday. I apologize for my team members. And share reflections in a circle. Sometimes it may not be practical for all of us to come back to the temple and share the reflections. So what we do there is that whichever spot that we go to, after the book distribution is done, we sit in a circle in a park somewhere, just park or whichever place we could find with a nice, something comfortable. We all sit there and we have some prasadam that was packed for us. We take the prasadam together in a circle, and while we are taking prasad, we share our reflections. And devotees are so excited because some distribute book for the very first time. They wanted to share what happened, and it's really nice if you do it at that spot, because next day we forget. So if you do it immediately, it's nice. And the team leaders can actually make a note of anything that needs to be improved. That's good too. And it's good to have a goal for the monthly Sankirtan festival. And once this festival is done, we formally make an offering of that result to Srila Prabhupada. At ISV, for every monthly Sankirtan festival, we have a formal offering that is written to Srila Prabhupada about what were the highlights of this MSF, and then how many books were distributed, how much Lakshmi we collected, and how many book points. Team-wise, we offer it to Srila Prabhupada. When we do this as a very formal event, you can see the devotees become very serious because they know that they have to offer it to Srila Prabhupada. So, which means for the offering to be put, which means, first of all, books have to be distributed. Second thing, the scores have to be collected. And then formally the offering has to be made. So this is the most sweetest thing in my experience, to offer the results of our monthly Sankirtan festival to Srila Prabhupada. As we already mentioned, accountants are important to do all our background work. Ranchor Prabhu, next slide please. And we call it as Good News Action Broadcast. As Prabhu was mentioning, we can create a WhatsApp channel or something like that. We used to share all the nice things that happen on that channel. And if you see our WhatsApp group, we used to have like few pictures every week. Now sometimes, because more devotees are going, you get lots more pictures. But it's so nice to see, like devotees are sharing their stories. I met this person, I met that person. Yesterday we met a very nice couple. Husband initially said, he said, you know, oh, I don't know, let me check with my wife. My wife may not like it. And he brings his wife, and the wife says, absolutely, I love it, you know. So all of these things, whatever happened, we just share it with the group so that it inspires each other. So that's why we have WhatsApp group to share good news as well. And what gets measured, gets improved, this is part of some other presentation. But I wanted to share that at ISV, what worked really well for our monthly Sankirtan festival is that we have different teams. We have a corporate Sankirtan team. We have Kids Sankirtan team. Kids Sankirtan team is from womb to 12 years old. So womb counts. Because when the mother goes out on book tuition, the child is counted already in there. So womb to 12 years old. And then we have Youth Sankirtan team from 12 to, what is your youth one? 12 to 25? Yeah, 12 to 25 years of age. And then we have Western Sankirtan team, who is only focused to go and meet Westerners. Because if we focus only on Indians, then we need someone to take care of the Westerners. So we have that team focused only for Westerners. And by doing all of these, we have a goal, overall goal, but at the same time, we have goal for the individual teams as well. So each team in the offering, as I mentioned, that what we read to Srila Prabhupada, we read the scores of individual teams, and then we do the total, and we read the total score to Srila Prabhupada. So it becomes like a group team effort, and so far at ISV, we never reported any individual scores. We always reported group scores as team ISV. So the team spirit really, really helps. So these are the few things that we have for the monthly Sankirtan festival. His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, he is here. Please welcome. Prabhu, we just covered the monthly Sankirtan festival deck. If devotees have any questions, can we take a few questions? Yeah. How much time do we have? 10 minutes? Okay. 5 minutes. Prabhu, yes.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu.
Just wanted to know, for the monthly Sankirtan festival, what can we do in the winter time when it gets very cold? Especially not so much in Toronto where they can go in apartments, but could we go into, say, a yoga studio, have a kirtan, like how you were talking about how you do it, and have a book table there, or some indoor spaces in the winter, and can that count as an MSF?
Actually, monthly Sankirtan festival is an event, but you can include any spots. So one monthly Sankirtan festival can have tables where we go out or where we go to apartments. Some can go to these yoga studios. Some can go to any other spots. So all of this is included in the festival. Monthly Sankirtan festival not necessarily means only one spot. So it's a collective events, and all the scores combined together go for the offering to Srila Prabhupada. I hope that answers your question. Okay.
Thank you, Mataji, for the presentation. Mataji, my question is, you mentioned about different Sankirtan teams, corporate Sankirtan, etc. So this is also dependent on the maturity of the team in terms of where is the learning curve. Like there is a learning curve, there's individual learning curve and group learning curve. So as far as TST is concerned, like I'm just thinking, are we there yet to have these different teams in place? And if not, where does the stage arise?
We can, as we mentioned, we can start small. It doesn't have to be that we have to have teams. The way we started these teams is we grew organically. So we saw that initially there was only one team. We were all going together. Then we saw that a lot of kids were joining and kids needed some attention. So we created a leader for that team so that they all can be attended, they can be trained particularly, because there's a Kids Sankirtan training separate, which is different than what we give for the adults. And they have specific things on how many breaks do you get, how many games do you have to play, how can you present Bhagavad Gita, like, their things are very different. So as we saw the need, we started those teams. And also, when devotees go out, some devotees, you see that they have a very specific interest. Some devotees want to focus only on giving books to Westerners. And they have very vested interest. They really wanted to see these books to go out to Westerners. So a few group of devotees going out there, and then we just form a team so they can grow like that. So it doesn't have to be inorganic that you just divide the teams, but where you see there is a need, and when it organically grows, then you can form the team. In that way, when we make the team, we give them full independence to explore, to grow, and also to contribute in any way they like. So in that way, they feel happy when their scores are read to Srila Prabhupada, and they're also part of the team.
Mataji, another question is, you mentioned about how professors love reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So how has your experience been doing book distribution in universities?
We have a book table. We have now a few brahmacharis who converted from, they were working in corporates, but now they turned into full-time book distributors at ISV. So we have a table in every university. They take turns going to universities. They set up tables where students come, and afterward they cultivate the students as well. And professors also can come to that table if they like. And we try to place a set of Srimad Bhagavatam in all the libraries in the university so that it is accessible to students and others. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji. If a community is really small, if it's not yet like too big to have so many teams, and if it's really small, it's not even a team, it's just 2-3 people. So how do we start with that, and how do we make it a fun part, like, oh, let's go for the book distribution? If not everyone is really enthusiastic to have a book distribution team, and they just like there's not much room for book distribution and Sankirtan. So how do we start?
Prabhu? No, I was thinking maybe they can benefit if you answer.
Well, Prabhupada was one person, and he had enthusiasm, and he attracted others by his enthusiasm. And that's the main ingredient. It's not so much a formula, it's spontaneous. I said earlier, Prabhupada's advice on management was to create an atmosphere in which devotees want to do service that's individual, spontaneous, and voluntary. And the way Malini is talking about how when you see somebody with some enthusiasm, then you just fan the spark. And if somebody in your group has enthusiasm, then you've got 2 people. Because there's you and that person, and that's enough. And if just you have enthusiasm, then you start, and Krishna will send you somebody that you can inspire. We're not counting I mean, we measure things, but birds fly in the sky as high as they're able. But the sky's unlimited. So what does it matter what number it is or how high you go? It's more what the attitude is. One of our mantras is, it's not what you do, but how you do it that counts. So if you're in a small place, you're in a good situation. Small is beautiful, actually. I find that the smaller centers around the world are really exciting places to go. There's unlimited potential for growth, and there's not a lot of burdensome brick and mortar hanging around. No roofs to fix. It just, you can get started there with just, let's just do book distribution and Harinam and stuff like that. And then you can start something, a culture, and then it'll grow from there. That ISV started from nothing, except for just a few devotees going on book distribution, right? Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So I wanted to share that our initial days at ISV, book distribution, we were just a few families. We didn't have kids at that time. So we used to go, all of us, we just take breakfast or lunch at the temple. We used to go out book distribution all day long. And then we used to come back and we used to go to one of the devotees' houses, whichever we take turns. We all cook together, dinner prasadam, we offer, we have fun, and then we used to go back home. Those were one of the best days ever. And one more thing I wanted to mention is that the friendships that you make in Krishna consciousness are all when you do service together. That's the best kind of friendship, because it's not that we have to spend time with each other separately. When you're doing service together, the bonds that you develop are the strongest. So yeah, two devotees, you'll become the best friends after a while.
Hare Krishna. You mentioned the principle of 80% core and 20% explore. How does that pertain to the monthly Sankirtan festival? For example, in New York, there's lots of festivities happening all around the city, such as a Labor Day parade, a special event in a park. So how can do you leave those special events separate from the MSF in terms of exploring them? Or are you trying to create maybe a unique MSF experience by going somewhere like that?
As I was mentioning to Prabhu, MSF doesn't mean any spot. MSF is a festival, and whatever spots that you wanted to include, every spot is included. The distribution that happens that weekend, irrespective of which spot you go to, they are all counted towards that MSF. When I meant 80-20 is, if there is a new festival which you have never tried before, we don't know how the outcome is. The festival may be 200,000 people coming to the festival, but from book distribution perspective, it may not be that effective. Or maybe there's not a good spot for us to space a table and everything. But trying out some new places and new areas, that is the exploration. So we have a small team, maybe a team of 1 or 2 devotees or 1 person, depending on how many devotees are in your team. We try to explore those new spots so that just to test out. So there is a festival called Hardly Six Strictly. I don't know if you heard, it's a music band. A lot of music bands come there. Like there are hundreds of thousands of people. So once we explored, and that turned out to be a biggest spot for book distribution. So unless we tried, we would never know. So this was the 20% I was talking about.
Yes, sorry. My question was more, are you trying these spots as part of an MSF? Yes, okay.
Yes. At ISV, we started with a monthly Sankirtan festival, and we used to have once a month Sankirtan outing, and devotees would come out once a month. And after some time, devotees started complaining, saying that it's too long to wait for 1 month. So now devotees just go out on a weekly. We have weekly outings, but still the results are all counted towards that monthly Sankirtan festival. Oh, last question.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for outlining the steps and how to organize it. One question about the logistics side. Outside of the book distribution team, who do you guys consult with before setting a date? I mean, obviously, like the local management is helpful, just getting devotees involved. But even like, do you consult with like Bhakti Vriksha leaders, saying like, okay, we're gonna do it on this day. Can you encourage your Bhakti Vrikshas to join? Do you like consult with like the DD department, like, hey, these big Sankirtan devotees, make sure they're not serving this weekend or whatever? Who else do you like consult with, other devotees outside of the Sankirtan team?
So when we started out beginning, very early days, we created a calendar, monthly Sankirtan festival calendar. So we marked the dates for the entire year in January. So we marked each month, whichever is our festival. We used to have it in, I mean, we had, initially we had it analog, then later we converted to digital. So we planned our festival once a year. We planned all our festivals for the year. And once it is planned out, then we also send postcards to the congregation members saying this monthly Sankirtan festival is coming up, with a picture from the previous, some picture from the previous monthly Sankirtan and some quote encouraging everyone to please come and join. So the entire community is already informed, saying that 1 month in advance, saying that we have a monthly Sankirtan festival coming up, and we make announcements in the group and things like that. But right now, of course, we go every weekend, but that's how we started. We marked the dates and everybody in the temple. And when we mark the dates, we consult with all the leaders, the temple management, to see if these dates work. And then when they approve it, then we mark the date.
Thank you.
There's two more questions. And we have Meenakshi Mataji also to give the next presentation. No, but I think everybody... Mataji, can I ask you to... Are we set up for Meenakshi Mataji's presentation? Anukul Seva? Prabhu? Thank you. Prabhu, can we take one last question and then... I know. Okay.
No, it's common. Hare Krishna Mataji. I just wanted to, you mentioned about corporate Sankirtan team group, right? So how do you approach the, like, okay, if you could just throw some light and share your experience, you know, how to build up the corporate Sankirtan team, and how do we approach the corporates?
This is a whole topic in itself on how to start the corporate Sankirtan team, but I'll just give the principles. So there are many people working in corporates, and they need some outlet on relief from stress, anxiety. So there's a team which conducts regular programs in corporates to have programs, classes for them. Vaisheshika Prabhu goes, there's a Salesforce. Salesforce, Prabhu goes and gives classes in Salesforce and different things. And they cultivate all these people from corporates, and they are not part of the mainstream temple congregation, but they have special events for them that are conducted either at the temple or at their offices, where they can be engaged in some devotional service. And there is a lot of follow-up that is needed. There is a lot of things that goes on, but that's I can connect with you offline, but that's actually a big subject to cover.
You say stress management or something like
there are a lot of topics that that can be appealed for the corporate audience. Yeah.
Just as an example, when we go back to California, we have our annual Janmashtami at Salesforce, and they pay for it. We feed, 600-700 people, have a big corporate room, and we do a Janmashtami program there. That's one example, but there are many, and it is a big topic.
Thank you. Thank you, Malini Mataji. I think we really benefited from this session and all the questions that came up. The title was how... The title was how to organize a monthly Sankirtan festival, but truly, I think we should have renamed it as programs that work. and innovative ways to expand book distribution. So this is just the first, like it's a teaser. There's a lot more to come in our future interactions with Malini Mataji. And I think if I can now call upon Meenakshi Mataji. Thank you. Well, she's our own, very local. Before most of us were here, she's seen the temple through many, many phases. And actually, I take great pride in saying that ISKCON Toronto has one of the world's best, most organized and transparent Shastradan programs. And really a lot of hard work has been done by Meenakshi Mataji and Indresh Prabhu over the last 16 years. So please tell us how to organize your Shastradan program.
Hare Krishna. My obeisances to the assembled devotees here. Thank you for taking out your time. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna Vaisheshika Prabhu. I'm nervous now that you're here. So I've been asked by Shama Mohini Mataji, our stalwart general of the Toronto Sankirtan team, to speak about Shastradan. We have been doing Shastradan, yes, for about 16 years, kind of aging us. And we also started small, as Malini Mataji had said, that, you know, you start small and you grow. So at the beginning, it was very small, and we were very innovative, very nimble, very flexible, and just, you know, went with the flow and grew based on our experiences in the first few years. So the first question is, what is Shastradan? Shastradan actually means Shastra, meaning knowledge, Dan, meaning gift, so the gift of knowledge, which is the systematic placement of books, Srila Prabhupada's books, in institutions and venues that might not otherwise have access to Srila Prabhupada's books. These people might not be out on the streets where they can access MSF, for example. They might not be in corporations where they're working and get access that way. So we get these books into those venues and institutions where they can have that gift, where somebody has funded it to allow them to do so. So the next question is, why Shastradan? Shastradan is one component of the overall Sankirtan book distribution efforts in your center. We're all very familiar with store-to-store, street Sankirtan, door-to-door, special events like South Asian festivals, summer festivals, even smart boxes, and of course MSF, Books on the Street, Harinam. But Shastradan can be a major component of your book distribution efforts. So where are we talking about? What are these venues? What are these institutions? Well, here in Toronto for the past 16 years, we have actually been doing quite a number of different channels, including, for example, prisons and correctional institutions. We just talked about, you know, people not having access. This is certainly one of the greatest examples where people are stuck. They're at rock bottom. They're looking for some answers. And so we place books in prisons and correctional institutions. And not only just Bhagavad Gitas, but we also do small soft books where we have some chaplains actually putting them into their welcome kits. So when an inmate first comes to the institution, they get this little welcome kit, maybe with some socks and things like that, but also Srila Prabhupada's books, Coming Back, Beyond Birth and Death, you know, Chant and Be Happy, a few of these kind of books. And they go over very well. And of course, the mainstays of the Bhagavad Gitas, but we also have some institutions taking full sets of Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita. And some of these, if they're max prisons, for example, they will actually take the hardbound covers off because they're not allowed to have staples or hardbound because they can turn into weapons. After all, these are inmates. But they take them and we allow them to strip the covers off. I say the content is inside, you know, we do what we have to do. Libraries. This is a wonderful opportunity. Libraries, they are ripe. That's what they do, books. So why not Srila Prabhupada's books? You might not be doing thousands of books here, but certainly Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna book, Bhagavad Gita, Higher Taste, all of these books can go in. Philosophy, spirituality, religion, and you can see we actually get them microfiched. So they're official and they're able to be borrowed not only inside the library, but they can actually be borrowed online as well. Hospitals, we all know that hospitals, you know, people are suffering, they're in pain, they want answers, not only the patient, but their families, and so these books are available to them as well. We do this in three areas actually. One is in their meditation rooms and prayer rooms. We have the Bhagavad Gitas. But then we also have books with the chaplain, so when patients are looking for some answers, the chaplain actually goes and takes the Bhagavad Gitas to the patients and their families. And the third is that we actually have Srimad Bhagavatam sets in their reference libraries. So when patients are wandering around, sorry, the families, the patients aren't wandering around, I hope, but the families might be wandering around, they're going for their coffee or whatnot, they pass the reference library and they start reading. And it is a very successful program that way as well. Courts. We have placed the Bhagavad Gita in courts all across Canada. So why do people have to swear only on the Bible, right? The demographics are changing, so we have the Bhagavad Gita in every single court. Little free libraries. This is wonderful. Everybody's seen a little free library, right? Those little like bird house type of things, very unique. They're practically in every neighborhood, and we put several titles in there, and then you can keep replenishing as well, checking on them and seeing, you know, if somebody's taken them. It's a very soft way of doing book distribution. Hotels and motels, well, you know, the Motel Gita is the leader in this, so I don't really have to speak. I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with that. But again, people are traveling, they're looking for something to read, they're bored, they open the drawer, they see the Bible, but then they also see a wonderful, bright, orange book, and they say, well, what is this? And it's there as well. And we also put them in the lobbies and the reference areas in the lobbies, reading areas, that type of thing. It depends on what the operator allows. Hospices and nursing homes. Again, people have spent their entire lives doing whatever they're doing. They're at their end of life. They're wondering, well, what have I done with my life? What's next? You know, I'm in pain and suffering. What am I leaving to my family? So on and so forth. Well, the Bhagavad Gitas are right there. And with the cooperation of the personnel, the admin, the spiritual care providers, we have our books there as well. And shelters and social services, similarly, the downtrodden, the people who really need some help, and these shelters are providing what we would call material help, right? The food, the shelter, any of those kind of things. But what about the spiritual help? What about the answers? And again, we provide books there as well. Even the Covenant House recently, we're sending them another Srimad Bhagavatam set in the Toronto location. Airports. Well, we used to go out to the airports and distribute hand to hand. Vaisheshika Prabhu knows this all too well. Well, those days, you know, we have matured. The airports are, you know, not really allowing that so easily anymore. But we have a trick, right? They have prayer rooms, right? And they have these little oases, and usually the bigger airports even have 2 or 3 prayer rooms. So it is not just one area. And they will take our books and put them in, and we do a lot of soft covers there because we want people to be able to take that book with them on the flight, right? So it's very easy to take a soft Bhagavad Gita and go onwards with that. Schools and universities. Malini Mataji was speaking about Srimad Bhagavatam sets in universities. Exactly. These students are the most ripened fruit that we can have to take Srila Prabhupada's books. And so putting them not only in universities and colleges, but also Indian schools, religious language schools, that type of thing, they take them. Even a lot of temples, they have their little kids programs for their Sunday or Saturday programs that they have. So we provide these books so they can use them to teach Bhagavad Gita to even the little ones, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. And then the military. The Navy, the Air Force, etc. These people are going, facing things on the front lines. Maybe they have questions as well. They're also pretty traumatized. So the Bhagavad Gitas are available to them as well. We have also done sets in these places as well. But this is very popular, and we do replenish a couple of times a year to the different military bases. And that was an actual display at one of the bases. And then police divisions, and well, RCMP is Canadian. I guess you guys have the National Guard there, we've been hearing a lot about. Yeah, so maybe they need that right now. But yes, so giving books to them as well. Again, they're on the front lines, not only for the personnel themselves, but for their families. But not only that, we've heard a number of stories where some of the policemen are actually taking the books, having them in their vehicles, and they're actually giving it to somebody that they might be servicing. Somebody's in a crisis. So they have some of these materials to help do what they are doing, right? So it's pretty, it's pretty brilliant. So in Toronto, from the Toronto Sankirtan team, we did about 16 years ago. We've placed in well over 4,000 institutions and well over, that's probably an old number, over 175,000 books. So certainly the potential is there. It just requires some attention, some energy, and focus, and humbleness to do it. And of course, organization. So then the question is there a scope for your center to do it? Well, absolutely. It depends, of course, on your region. So you would have to see in your region, is somebody already doing it? Is there a neighboring region that's already doing it? For example, in Toronto, we talked about the prisons. So with the prisons, in order for us to get the books into the prisons, we had to go to the Government of Canada. And we had to convince them that Srila Prabhupada's books can be authorized to go in, that there isn't something subversive or something that's being written in these books which will not be appropriate. So we had to go through this whole process. We got it approved, and now from Toronto, we handle all the prisons across the country. So in that sense then, if you were in, say, Durham or Vancouver, you might not be wanting to approach the prisons because, Toronto is already doing it. So check with what is happening already so that you go beyond that. Like, let's grow it instead of, going to the same people, right? And that's what we talked about, established placements. So when you saw that we went through some of the places, the channels that we have been doing at ISKCON Toronto, maybe some of you have sparked something that there are potential channels that we actually have not touched, or the scope is so large that they can be grown exponentially. And some examples of that are healthcare practitioners. So healthcare practitioners, Prabhu, healthcare practitioners include doctors' offices. In Canada, there are over 99,000, so almost 100,000 doctor offices. So even if you were to put 2 books in each doctor's office, just 2, and you covered all of them, that's 200,000 books. Even if you say 10% of those, the potential is still great. In America, there's over 400,000 doctor's offices alone. And when people go there, what are they doing? They're waiting and waiting. The doctor's double, triple booked. They don't care about the patient's time, right? But they're sitting there, and that is a prime time, because they have nothing else to do, have some small books there. Not Srimad Bhagavatam sets, but have small books there. And the people pick it up. They look like little soft, informative books, and, tell the doctor's offices that, yeah, let the people take it, it's no problem. And you can actually put almost like a smart box, please take one free, and have them sitting there very attractively. So that is a potential that even in ISKCON Toronto, we have not, grown that at all, okay? Similarly, dentists' offices, same kind of thing. There's over 16,000 in Canada, over 135,000 in America. So you can see right off the bat, if you have a team of devotees who are willing to go and speak to these offices, then you have certainly a potential for Shastradhan. And then there's other healthcare practitioners, optometrists, physiotherapists, all these different type of specialists that, everybody is suffering, so they're going, right? And then the next is shelters. So shelters, again, we talked about this before, that people are in a crisis. They could be youth shelters, they could be domestic abuse for women and children. And the shelters love to have these type of books because it complements the services they're doing. It actually makes their life easier to have more support materials. So again, in Canada, we have 560 residential facilities, and I didn't have a chance today to research how many are in the States, but you can say that's usually 10 times more, okay? And transition homes, similar kind of thing. Emergency shelters, similar kind of thing. So there's various types of shelters. It's not just youth, it's not domestic, emergency shelters, transition housing, etc. Even, you must have the YMCA in America as well, right? That is a huge potential. It just requires a bit of a soft touch because they have a bit of a Christian bent to them. But it depends how you approach them. And we just talked about other types of centers as well. And then we spoke about hospices earlier as well. In America, you have over 7,800 hospices. In Canada, we have 142, right? And again, they love to have these books, just truly love to have them because they want to help the people who are at end of life. And the families are really questioning, and they're really heartbroken. What's going to happen to my family member? So this is the most appropriate place to put Srila Prabhupada's books. And welcome centers and immigration centers. We have a lot in Canada, and people are coming from all over, and they get all sorts of help. How to write a resume, how to learn English, how to use the bus, the banking, whatever it might be. Well, how about how to get spiritual? And again, if you convince them to have little welcome kits where you can have these books available inside the packages, then you have so many. And in America, I'm sure you have immigration centers there. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure with Trump what's going on, but they must have them there as well. And then youth centers and programs. The youth are really disillusioned now. The unemployment rate is really high. They're looking for help. They go to these centers. And again, it's a very wonderful place to put books and a very easy place to put books. And then we were talking about, similarly with MSF, some people, might not be inclined to go and speak directly to an institution. They might be shy. Well, where else can they help with book distribution, with Shastradhan, is little free libraries. And so these are, you don't have to talk to anybody. You just simply have to put the books in there. You take a van. I know we used to do this. The SUV would be full, massively full. We'd have these little kits and then basically put one Bhagavad Gita, one Higher Taste, one Beyond Birth and Death, and have a little bit of a map and just go, go, go. Spend a whole day, from one end of the city to the other. And in Canada, there's over 2,100 little free libraries that are registered. Some people don't even register. You'll just drive, you'll see it there like, oh, there's one. And over 200,000 in America. So even if you were just to do little free libraries and did 3 books in each one, that's 600,000 books. And then you replenish 2-3 times a year. So that's, 800,000 books, 1 million books, right? So that's a number for Canada that I was just doing, but that's over 150,000 different centers or programs where books can be placed. And let's say that would be over 1 million in America. So then the next question is, great, you know, sure, you said that you could place them in all these places, but how do we actually do so? So the first thing is you need funding, right? If we don't have funding, we have to, if we're gifting these somewhere, we have to still get some Lakshmi to do so. So the first is to get funding, and that is from your congregation, from your well-wishers, explaining them what you're doing. What is the Shastradhan program? We usually do this at the end of each year, where we actually tell the congregation about the program, and we raise funds to be able to use that Lakshmi then to place the book. So that's the very important first step. The next is to come up with a list, a potential list of leads. So your center may decide, well, we're going to go after hospices, right? So then you would have to find all the hospices in your region, right? You just can't be like, oh, well, where are we going to go? Like, there's some research involved. So that is the first thing, is come up with the list, which channel you're going to go after, and then the full list of where these places are, their addresses, their phone numbers, even to the point of, if you can, finding out who is the decision maker. Is there a spiritual care department? It might be just administration. It might be a wellness center, or wellness coordinator, depending on who you're placing these books with. The next is to approach them. And this, we'll come to it in a minute, but when you approach, it has to be very professional. So there is a way to approach these people so that you do not get a no, and we don't sound overly religious or fanatical. I like to approach people in person or by phone. I never recommend by letter. And the reason being is there is no interaction with the letter. It's a one-way street. It usually gets chucked in the garbage, you know? And also when you call these places, don't ask for the owner or the manager. We actually get calls from Govindas, and people call and say, can I speak to the owner or manager? Right away, you know that it is a solicitation call, it's a sales call. So we never do that. You know, you ask for, if you've done your research, you ask for the wellness coordinator, you ask, oh, can I speak to the administrator of such and such, or can I speak to the spiritual care provider or the chaplain, again, depending on who you are approaching. The other thing is when you are approaching them in person or by phone, you're interacting with them, right? So you can handle their objections. It's very similar to doing books on the street, right? So they say, well, no, we don't do, you know, we can't have any religious items. Well, this is not religious. This is about solace. This is about wellness. This is about yoga and meditation. Even at the prisons, you say, well, you know, they've hit rock bottom, right? You know, they want answers, they want solace, and we have people who've read these books and transformed their lives. And then you give them the examples and say, oh yeah, well, that makes sense, right? And so they're more receptive once, and then you can also learn to handle objections and basically improve yourselves, right? And that's another thing, is when you start small. Maybe don't go to the biggest hospital out there. Start with the regional hospital so you can learn. Because once you get a no from the big hospital, A, you'll get discouraged, and B, it's very hard to go back, especially if it's the same contact. So now the person has said, yes, we will take the books. Now you have to have some intelligence as to which books are going. You're not going to send 10 Srimad Bhagavatam sets to the prison, right? And you're not going to send 3 boxes of Bhagavad Gitas to a library, right? So we have to curate. So for a prison, it'll be soft Bhagavad Gitas, smaller books. And even when you're speaking to them, you can say, well, you know what? Say it's a prison. I'm going to send you a mixed box, which will have 10 of each title. And when you receive this, you see how it's going, and then you let us know, well, I like the coming back, I didn't like the matchless gifts, or whatever, right? So you can kind of have that interaction so they don't feel that you're dumping a bunch of books on them. We're supporting them. This is not just a dump. And it shouldn't be a dump, really, because you really want it to have an effect on where you're placing it and for whom you're placing it. And so now you know what you have to place. You're going to send, let's say it's a motel. they have 42 rooms, so you're going to send 3 boxes of 16, so they have extras. You even tell them, I'm sending you a few extras, so if someone does take it from the room, you have another one to replenish back in. And you can even say it costs us less to ship you a few more than to do 2 shipments. It's a wonderful line. So now you know what you have to ship. You create a letter. Now's the time for the letter. You put a letter together. Thank you for accepting these books. This is who we are. You know, these are other places that have accepted the books. If you need more, please let us know. Thank you for being part of this wonderful program. You know, we're here to support you, etc. So a very nice professional letter with the contact information as to where they can contact you to get more books. Very important. And then you pack and curate the books, and then you either ship or drop them. In the early days, we used to drop these books, like literally go to each place and drop them. Our program has become much larger, so now we have a deal with one of the shipping companies where we have a discount, and we just ship them. It makes it a lot more efficient as well. We can use our time to approach more places. So now they've gone, the next step is to follow up. This doesn't mean you have to follow up right away. It doesn't mean that you follow up in a week, because generally they will follow up with you. And they'll say, thank you for sending the books, I've received them, etc., etc. But you should follow up maybe 3 months, 6 months, certainly within a year, depending on the size of the institution. Above all, as Vaisheshika Prabhu says, leave a good impression. No matter what, if somebody says, no, we don't want these books, we've had people who've even gotten the books and started calling and swearing that I didn't want those books, and you told me there was something else, and no, they, you know, blah, blah. No problem, sir, no problem, man, we'll pick them up, you know, but you have yourself a good day, and thank you for taking the time even to open the box, you know, calm them down. Right? So, and somebody might say, no, these are religious, or we don't have drawers in our hotel rooms anymore, or whatnot. You know, again, thank you for taking the time, because you never know that 6 months down the road, there might be a new manager and something might change. You don't want that vibration of, you know, Meenakshi called me and she was so rude and so pushing these books down my throat. It's not good, right? And be professional in all interactions. That's one of the things that we've built the Shastradhan program on, is how we're speaking, who we're speaking to, how we're speaking to them, how our letters are, how our boxes are even. Shama Mohini Mataji knows very well that sometimes boxes will come and there'll be writing on them that somebody's packed and there's got writing, or it says Rati Yatra on them, coming back, and you know, all this stuff. And so it gets all repacked, because it's like a gift, right? When somebody opens a box, and these are professional places, you want it to look nice, that they're receiving something special. So it's all about professionalism in every single part of your interaction. Even the people you deal with who are picking up the books, your shipping company, right? Every interaction. So the next part is to track. We talked about accounting earlier. Tracking how much funding came in at the beginning of the year, the end of the year, whenever you're doing this, and then where you place the books, how many books you placed, which types of books you placed, what is the value of those books you're costing, right? And we keep a spreadsheet of that, so we have everything from, on one side, all the books, and then each and every institution that we've placed it, and what we've placed, and there's a running total, so we know what funding we had at the beginning, how much funding is being used, and how much we have at the end of the year. We also track our shipping costs. Maybe we have packaging costs, like to buy boxes, to buy labels, whatever those are also part of the Shastradhan cost. They do have to come from somewhere. But this is very good for you yourself to know, not that, you know, you collected $100,000 and then you only placed $20,000, not good. Collected 100, you did $200,000, well, then you need to tell your congregation, hey, our program is so successful, where's the Lakshmi? Please help us, right? And then also, this is very important, because you can go back to the congregation and say, just like we showed in an earlier slide, every year, how many books have we placed? How much Lakshmi we have used? It creates transparency and authenticity to the congregation, so they see that you're actually doing something with their Lakshmi. Otherwise, people do question, right? And that comes back to the reporting to the congregation, maybe reporting to your temple management, etc. And then, of course, it all starts over and over again, the never-ending cycle. And there is just kind of a graphic of that, where we're asking the congregation in the temple right here for funds. We're calling, we're speaking. That was actually a healthcare conference where we were taking orders of books and had a table there. You also develop so many relationships that people will actually tell us that, you know, Meenakshi, there is a healthcare conference and they'll give us a free table at the booth where everyone else is paying, and we're sitting there with this wonderful thing, and even allowing us to go in at lunchtime and speak to every table. So that's all relationships, right? You can only do that if they're comfortable with you and you're speaking and being kind to them, and, you know, building that over time. And then we have Punya Shravana Prabhu when he was Paren, a little bit younger. That's an old picture. You know, helping to pack and stamp the books, etc. We have production happening there too, where they're being curated boxes, right? So some places you might only do two Bhagavad Gitas, that's all. Like there's some places where, like nursing homes or something, they might only want two, so be it, right? So that is being curated. And then the products are being shipped, the boxes are being shipped, you can see, and it all starts over and over again. So this is one dream, one goal, one team. It is not just one person or two people doing this. It takes an entire team. We just saw that not only the congregation, but you have folks that are actually placing the books with the BBT, receiving the books, curating the boxes that we need, doing the accounting, doing the spreadsheets, all of these little things, even ordering boxes. You know, there's so many different people, so many different devotees helping out in this. So it's not that this is a one-man or one-woman show. And we're serving Srila Prabhupada together. This is one aspect of Sankirtan, of book distribution, but we are here for you. I know we have limited time today, but you know, if you need any training, if you need any support, any advice, any suggestions, what to write in the letter, how to speak to people. I've had people ask me for scripts. We don't do scripts. It's better just to speak very naturally and just, you know, become better at it. But we're here for you if you need any help. And Prabhu, next. So one may ask, well, does this work? Is there any impact of this? Because sometimes when you're on the street and you hand a person a book, you're speaking to the individual who is taking the book themselves, right? You know who's getting the book, and you've shown them the plates in the Bhagavad Gita, etc., and you feel good about it. But here, you're actually placing the books with an institution, and you're not necessarily speaking directly to a person who's actually taken the book and read it. So what effect does it have? So we have a couple of testimonials. Put the volume really high. So this is a chaplain at a hospital. Yeah, that's fine. So basically, this is a chaplain at a hospital, and he is talking about the benefits of these books, and that he's placed them in the meditation rooms. He gives it to the patients and their families, and especially those who are experiencing end-of-life decisions. And so they're very appreciative of this. And then this is one of written tests. We get so many testimonials, but this is actually from the Toronto Police Service, where they're expressing their thanks for these books and how it affects not only them, but the community as well. So, and then this is one of written tests. We get so many testimonials, but this is actually from the Toronto Police Service, where they're expressing their thanks for these books and how it affects not only them, but the community as well. So, and then this is one of written tests. We get so many testimonials, but this is actually from the Toronto Police Service, where they're expressing their thanks for these books and how it affects not only them, but the community as well. So Prabhupada says it the best, we'll conclude with him, that the more such literatures are read and distributed, the more auspicity will there be in the world. Thank you very much, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Do you have any questions? Yes, Mataji.
This is a wonderful program and presentation. I know that we have some exposure to some of the avenues that you mentioned, but definitely would like to connect with you, especially some things where it is done at the corporate level, so that all the other, I don't know if hospitals or whatever that may be, so maybe we can connect with you. And or if your team has, if you can guide us on that, that would be really helpful.
Absolutely. We're here to serve, Mataji. So if you need a presentation for your team, we can do that. If you want one-on-one with your corporate team, that's fine as well. Even with corporate, if they have reading rooms, reference areas, wellness areas, that's a great place to place books as well.
Thank you.
Just want to ask you, thank you for your presentation. For the other centers in Canada, would it be beneficial for them to check in with you so that they're not infringing on an existing relationship? Or would it be just that when they call institution, they have Bhagavad Gita, they assume, okay, I should back off?
No, the answer would be the first one, because again, we come back to professionalism,
Yeah.
and we've actually had that happen in the past year where there have been some enthusiastic centers in Canada where they've called, and then I've got a call, and they've said, why is this person approaching me, and who are they, and what's going on? It looks really not so nice for us, right? The impression. So we talked about the channels that we've been doing quite a bit, because we've been doing it for 16 years, and some of these centers are now newer with Bhakti Marg Swami's wonderful ecstatic expansion, but they are newer. Some of them are even 1 year old, 6 months old, 2, 3 years old. So yes, that's why we talked about some of the scope of potential channels which are currently untouched. Right? So I would suggest starting with those, but definitely the centers kind of say that, are you in this channel or that channel, who we should approach? We are one team of devotees. We should all support each other.
So that would apply for even, say, Vancouver and Halifax?
Yes, because they weren't doing it 16, 15, 12, 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. And I just wanted to share another thing about, when I was in Calgary, I used to do Shastradhan, but I didn't know about checking in, but luckily all the places did not have Bhagavad Gitas. So I went to a regional hospital, and there was this lady named Angela who was the spiritual care practitioner. And again, there's not very many Indian people there, but there was one patient who said, do you have a book on Eastern spirituality? And then the spiritual care practitioner, because I delivered the softbound Bhagavad Gita, took the book and gave it to her. So it was a nice experience.
Yes. When we are placing books in these institutions, we tell them that this is not just for those from an Indian or Hindu background. I tell them that 80% of these books are actually used by other folks from other backgrounds, and that is actually the fact. In the prisons, for example, 95% of them are from other backgrounds.
Thank you very much. I feel like this Shastradhan funding, especially in temples where there are not very many trained book distributors, and they, for example, don't know the art of collecting sufficient donations, etc., can actually help them to kind of de-stress all of the new book distributors, and they can go out there and distribute books, and then they start thinking about, how can I make this a more sustainable thing that I don't have to rely on this Shastradhan budget? So I know, for example, Brampton does that, like they raise Shastradhan and they use that for distributing at their various festivals and things like that. But I think it's really a great program for that to be an avenue in your list of channels where people are distributing books, but they are unable to or not able to, not collecting sufficient donations to cover the cost of the books that they're distributing. Because otherwise they'll just stop distributing books, which is even worse.
Yes, I mean, like Srila Prabhupada emphasized that there has to be some exchange for the book when you're on the street, so that there's some value, whether it be a piece of fruit, $1.25. And at the end of the day, and we've had this experience time and time again, is when you go on the street or at a festival or whatever, banquet hall, somebody might give you $1 and somebody will give you $20, and that averages out to cover the costs. Of course, that's up to the center and the temple management. Here we try to stick to these channels for transparency and to, I guess, be more, authentic with what the Shastradan program means. But, definitely, I think Vaisheshika Prabhu, you'll agree that if somebody handed you a cigarette once, but that, they have given an exchange of something. And so we accept whatever they give so that they feel there's value in the book that they're taking. Any other questions?
So he's mentioning that this devotee had a comment. He's saying that can we place books in some corporates owned by Indians?
Yes, absolutely. But we put the Shastradan placements through the team here so that they are tracked and we know where we're placing.
Thank you for developing this program to such an extent. It's comprehensive, and I love how you've brought professionalism to it. It stands out. I saw the program begin a few years ago, and it was just a little cottage industry, but you've turned it into something that has potential to grow unlimitedly. Thank you very much. Amazing work you're doing.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
I just one other little comment. I couldn't help it at the beginning when you talked about how you take the covers off sometimes. And I was thinking about the word Shastra, because there's Shastra and Shastra. And for those who are uncivilized, they just look at a book as a knife. But once they take the cover off and then they read the inside, then maybe they won't be so inclined. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hi Krishna, thank you for the presentation. My question revolves around fundraising and fundraising goals. Obviously, ISKCON has lots of different causes that require monetary support, whether it's temple building or prashadam distribution and stuff. And it may be a little overwhelming to the congregation or donors if every week a different team is asking them for money. And we don't want to come off as an organization that just begs for people. How do you take other initiatives that are going on in the temple into account when assessing fundraising goals, assessing goals of the program, so you're not overstretching, so that you're not going to be able to collect the funds, or it'll look bad if you just keep asking for money, etc.?
It's a wonderful question that we talk about often. So first of all, we try not to go asking weekly. Shama Mohini and Radha Mohan Prabhus do speak to the temple management, so we time things accordingly. Definitely we don't go asking for funds during Rath Yatra or Janamashtami, for example, or let's say when the Building Improvement Committee is asking for funds to do some of the renovations, we don't ask at that time. Typically, our time of asking is in December, which is generally not a time, it's far away from Rath Yatra, which is in July, for example, so that we kind of have a bit of a open run on what we can ask for at that time. But you're absolutely right, you can't keep, hat in hand asking every week, and you have to show the results, prove the results. Last December, we actually had a chaplain from the Warkworth Institution prison come here. He traveled about 2 hours to do a testimonial in person in the temple. And so it had a great impact on the congregation so they could see the results.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, Mataji. Mataji, you spoke about doctors' offices. So there is like lifeline labs where people wait for hours and people crib about wait times. We also have Service Ontario, Service Canada, So what do you think about placement in these centers?
Definitely the life labs, those are part of the specialties we talked about there. Labs, physiotherapy offices, optometrists, doctors, dentists, the list goes on. I would not touch the Service Ontario. First of all, they're privately owned, but they're also under certain rules and regulations by the government. And so it'll be a much tougher place to put in. So again, with the 80-20 rule, do the ones that are a little bit easier and you can get more books there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meenakshi Mataji. Like I said when Malini Mataji finished, that this is just the beginning. We actually started the second second conference after lunch, because we opened so many different questions that now you're going to keep thinking, taking these ideas, how can we implement them in our different communities, how can we improve our existing programs. So that brings us officially to the end of our humble offering, humble attempt at sharing different practices, the mood, the method, and how we can do different types of book distribution, how we can do simple book distribution. And like Vaisheshika Prabhu said, the sky is unlimited. So as many things as we want, we can do. There's as much service as we like, if we like. So with that, thank you all very much. I do want to acknowledge this session specifically was for specific types of book distribution. Malini Mataji spoke about several innovations. Meenakshi Mataji, who's our local expert, local global expert, spoke about Shastadan. I also want to take this opportunity to acknowledge that we have Anuttama Prabhu amongst us. He is our global book distribution representative for Toronto. He's the one who represents Toronto at all the global meetings that we have. He makes sure all the temples give their pledges and report their... I said Canada, no? Sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, global book distribution representative for Canada. And as you know, Canada is a very wide and big, huge country. Sorry, I'm losing words now. But yes, so thank you for making sure that there's always a representation from each center in Canada, and that everybody follows through with their goals and gives their pledges, and you're there to answer their questions. I also just want to acknowledge Ranchor, who you probably already acknowledged. He's our BBT marketing data / half adopted by Toronto Sankirtan team. And thank you for coming. And thank you to all of you for coming today. And we look forward to staying in touch. We're going to keep the group open for the next few days. We're going to share some important information, the contact information for different devotees that you asked for. Some presentation decks were asked. So we're going to share all that information. Vaisheshika Prabhu, would you like to say something?
Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shishi Gornitai, Shishi Radha Kirchor Gopinath, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. If you so desire, please empower our Canadian team and give full resources so we can expand book distribution unlimitedly and give solace to the wandering souls who have landed here in Canada. Thank you very much for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone who had a fruitful time here at the regional conference, please say Hare Krishna. Vancha Kalpatarushya Kripa Sindhave Patitana Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo.
Hare Krishna. Huh? Yes, on NSC. Just a note, for those devotees from America and Canada, there is a North American Sankirtan Leaders group. If you're from America, please see me. I can add you to that group. And if you're from Canada, there's a Zone 1 Sankirtan team group. I can add you to that group if you're from Canada. So just letting you know that there's 2 WhatsApp groups where you get all the information about all the campaigns that happen from the BBT marketing department. So please see me. I'm an admin of those 2 groups so I can add you in. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. 6:30 they start the announcements. Prabhu, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Anything particular?